For the last example, example 3, using trig ratios, it says again that we're going to solve for x, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. But if you look at the problems, all of the x's, all the variable, is where the angle measurement is. So when we have to find the angle measurement, we have to find the inverse operation. So it does list it here for you, what that looks like. And as you can see, it is really kind of tiny, but there is, like I said, sine -1. And that -1 indicates it's the inverse operation. So if you look at the calculator, right above sine, cosine, and tangent, we have those inverse operations. And because they are in that yellow-orange color, we're going to have to use second and then press sine, or second and then press cosine to activate those particular functions. Okay, so let's actually put this in practice and complete a problem. So we also know that we're dealing with SOHCAHTOA, so I'm going to write that out. Some old hippie came around here tripping over apples. And then that will allow you to fill in your fractions. So sine would be opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent would be opposite over adjacent. Okay, now, inverse, finding angles. So, going to problem A. From the right angle, you know that 24 is your opposite. From this angle not given, we just know it's x, that 15 is your opposite. Oh, I meant to write hypotenuse up here. So across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. Okay, now, the adjacent, we don't need that. So if we have opposite and hypotenuse, we would have to use sine. So what we say is sine of angle x equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? So then when I rewrite it to show what I'm finding, I'm saying that x equals sine inverse of 15/24. So let's put that into the calculator. So I'm going to click second sine. And it gave me the sine inverse. And then I put the fraction in 15. I hit the division symbol, 24, close my parenthesis, and we get that the angle x is 38.68 degrees. So let's round the 6 up to 7. So we would say x equals 38.7 degrees. So it's a rounding to the nearest tenth. For part B, again, across from the right angle is your hypotenuse. From angle x, we have the opposite, and then next to it is your adjacent. And so extra information here would be my opposite. So from angle x, we're looking at the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse are cosine. So cosine of angle x equals adjacent, which is 8, over hypotenuse, which is 11. So when we say that we're finding x, we're saying it's the inverse of cosine, and it's 8/11. So I'm going to again have to press second, and then I would do cosine 8 divided by 11. And I would get 43.34, so that would be 43.3. And that would be degrees. It is important to put your degrees on these since we are finding angle measurements here. Okay, for letter C, Right angle, we have this is our hypotenuse. From angle X, we have 7 as our opposite, and 5 is the adjacent, where the hypotenuse is extra information. So if we're dealing with adjacent and opposite, we have tan. So tan angle X equals opposite, so 7 over 5. So our inverse of tan, 7/5. So second tan, 7 divided by 5, and we have 54.5. I went ahead and rounded up. Okay. Moving on to letter D. Right angle, 41 is your hypotenuse. From X, you have the opposite. And then the adjacent is extra. So opposite and hypotenuse, O and H. That's going to be sine. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So we've got 40 over 41. And so X equals sine inverse of the fraction 40 over 41. I'm going to do second sine 40 divided by 41, close my parenthesis, and I get 77.31, so 77.3 degrees. For letter E, across from the right angle is 23, so that's our hypotenuse. We have our opposite and our adjacent. So opposite is extra here. Adjacent and hypotenuse would be cosine. So cosine of angle X equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And then to find the inverse of X, cosine inverse 18 over 23. Get second cosine 18 divided by 23. Close the parenthesis and we get 38.5 degrees. Okay, last one for letter F. The right angle is our hypotenuse. Across from X is the opposite, and then 37 is our adjacent. So if we have opposite and adjacent, that would be tangent, TOA. So tangent of X equals opposite over adjacent. Then find the inverse of tangent to get your degree. So I have second tan, 20 divided by 37, so 28.4 degrees.